Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline studio. I'm Sybille Muschik. Behind the camera is Joshua Blanc. Today we're going to have some fun with crackle paste. I have a couple here for you. This is sort of the dollar store version of it. It's called One Step Crackle from Deco Art, the Americana version. This is dry in about 4 hours, but it's got a very small kind of crackle. Here's an example. Now I hope we can see the crackles here on the camera. They're very regular, very even. This crackle paste is a white opaque medium, and it crackles as it dries. Now I suspect that this has calcium carbonate in it and a medium, because it looks like it has some kind of like a super matte medium in it, which is what we're going to use. Finally, we're going to be doing our own crackle paste, and you start with, they call it marble dust or plaster of Paris. There's a variety of things that goes under, but basically it's calcium carbonate. And then you add medium, you can add glue to it, maybe that would make it crackle more. But we'll be doing that. We'll put that together later. So I just want to bring your attention to what I've been doing here. The first one I did, and I've been messing around with a little bit of calligraphy. And there's a lot of J's in our family. And so I did the crackle paste, and then I just did some I pressed in certain things, and you can see where it's picked up the color. It's dark underneath like this one, except I use black. And then I just used my handy feather, which is great. You can see the white on it already. So I've been using it. And I just scratched out the initial and then messed around with it. A little bit of ornamentation there. And then you let it dry. Now this crackle paste, as I've said, dries in about 3 to 4 days. And the crackles are, well, they're there, but they're reasonably subtle. Now the deeper or thicker you make put the crackle paste, the more it'll crack. So this layer was fairly thin, so that's probably why we have smaller crackles. I also put a glaze over top of our transparent red iron oxide, and then I wiped it away. Now, crackling is often used for antiquing furniture. Really, that's where its main use is. But of course, us artists can never keep our hands off anything that might be interesting art-wise. So here we go. Okay, so for this one, I did my initial, and then I outlined it in Posca pen later because it was quite dark. And I just, for the stencils, I used my Nike stencils that you can get from Amazon. It comes in a kit, and it has all sorts of stencils. And it has a number to show you which is the right side. Okay, so then you just put it on there and you stencil away. Now, I'm not sure you can notice this, but it's starting, because I did this a couple of days ago, it is also starting to crackle. And this is from, I was putting like a crackle on top of a crackle. So I did it with this one, and just, I will show it in a few minutes. I'll show you the process. And it's starting to crackle now because this is the one that takes about 4 days to crackle. So just crackling away. Okay, then finally, this is my combination, and all I did was use the plaster of Paris. I added now this is a really scientific method. I added a dab of the super matte medium and mixed it until I saw it was about the right consistency. You can sort of tell where it's not too fluid, it's not too liquid. Like really, really heavy cream maybe is as close as you're going to get. Now it's quite a rough surface. I'm going to have to sand this down. But later on we're going to add some color to this, so that could be quite dramatic. And it already has a medium in it, so it's pretty permanent. But I would put, if you're using this as a permanent work of art, then for sure, put some more, glazes on it, and maybe some more super matte medium, and finally some varnish, and treat it just like you would a painting. And it has this lovely relief surface. Even if you're going to be sanding it down to get the roughest edges off, you're going to have almost like a sculptural effect, like a frieze in a cathedral or something like that. Okay, so first of all, we're just going to prepare our plate. I have already prepared the first layer. Now, this is the clear gesso. Clear gesso is a good base, and then you can add any color to it. So the next step is just to add color. And I would just brush it out. I'm going to just wet my brush and just so it's dark all the way. Down and up. Doesn't have to be applied really thick, just so it's opaque. Josh is probably cringing because he's very good at painting things. And I think he usually starts from the bottom and goes up. But that's so it doesn't drip off the bottom, I think. Isn't that right, Josh?
Well, I've never painted a piece of card like that, so I don't know.
No, but if you're painting a door or something like that.
Top down, usually.
Top down?
Yeah.
And then, but at the end you go from bottom up, right, to make sure that everything's...
Oh, well, when you reach the bottom, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not too far off. Okay, so just smooth it out. Now we're going to let this dry. It'll take a little while. We're not going to work on this for a while. Okay, so clean your brush and set this aside. So we're going to put Crackle medium on this dark one. Had a little bit of black in there, so it'll be sort of gray, which is okay. We won't be working with this one because it's just to show you how to put it on. You can, like I did here, you can mix color with it if you want. We're just using kind of gray. But you can use any color. Sort of like you're buttering bread here. You can use a trowel if you would rather. And I might do that. I have a little... Right now we're just getting the stuff on. And as evenly as you possibly can. Now the reason that we have crackles because the calcium carbonate dries quite rapidly and shrinks. Whereas the medium is more flexible. So when those two forces get together, something's got to give, and then you have Crackle. In terms of the liquid one, probably there's a drying agent, and then the medium that's mixed in there, it looks like a clear medium of some kind, just acrylic medium. Again, the medium will dry more slowly and is more flexible, whereas the other one is meant to dry quickly. And then you have this war going on between the two of them, and the result is a Crackle. So let's just smooth that out if we can. I don't know about moistening the, maybe slightly. You don't really want to get a lot of water on it. So just do the best you can with trying to get it smooth. A bigger trowel might be more useful. Again, Josh is probably much better at this than I am. Should get him to do it.
Yeah, if you had one that
wider.
wide enough,
Yeah. Yeah, one swipe will do it, right? But that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, and some of it might be interesting, but you just want to get it reasonably smooth so you can work into it. Okay, so then we just leave this to dry, or you can draw into it. So yes, maybe we'll draw into this one. Well, we could do this cat thing. I have a cat stencil next to me here. And we could do a cute little cat. Fat cat. And maybe a tail. Maybe see a little paw here, but that's about it. Okay, and then cat prints. We've been getting a lot of deer prints in the yard. Okay, we'll have a few cat prints here. You could give this cat a little bit of hair, I guess. Cropping is good. One here. I really like drawing with this feather. I don't know what it is, probably a Canada goose feather. So we're just finishing off a little detail here and there for the cat. Just a little, give the cat some furry looking attributes. And this one won't have quite the sharp edges. Probably still will need some, sanding later. Okay, so we have our cat. Back to this one. Now we're going to have to wait a little bit. I'm going to put the medium on. So I'm just putting this on. And again, we'll just sort of spread it out. This is the one I recommend, that you have a second layer once you get this on and it's dried, because it's going to be very dark, so you can't see the crackles. And you can see it's quite a bit more fluid than the other one. In terms of chemical compounds, I'm not sure. It's something that dries quickly and something that doesn't in combination. Sometimes I think you can buy them separately. We had a little bit of plaster left from the previous one. Okay, not to worry. And this is sort of self-leveling. You just have to make sure you spread it on the entire piece. Oh, working on these little painting panels. Wood would do very well as well. Wood is probably preferable. But these are pretty solid. And it's just an exercise, so if you're just learning this process, I recommend these panels so that you can just mess around, play with it until you're confident, and then maybe go to a wooden panel and just smoothing it down, but it will level itself pretty well. Okay, so I'll set that aside. Okay, we're mixing up our plaster combination. I'm mixing in about a tablespoon to start. We probably need a bit more of the plaster of Paris or calcium carbonate, whatever you want to call it. We're adding a bit of white, and it could be any color. About the same, looks about a tablespoonful. And then maybe an equal amount of, I can measure it out if you like. It's a little bit more than a tablespoon. And we might need just a little bit more of the plaster. So you just need to stir it. So that looks just a little bit too liquid still. Now, plaster is strange stuff. When it dries, it creates heat because it's shrinking so rapidly. And that's something to watch out for. That means it's going to go solid on you. So just adding a little bit more in. It was a little bit too liquid. That's looking better. It's just got to be workable and smoothable. Maybe a touch more. I've got a big bag of this stuff if we need more, but I think we're good now. So, see, it's not running. It's like heavy, heavy cream. Mix this really, really well. And here's our, this is prepared with clear gesso. I always do one extra layer after you buy something like this, just to make sure it's in good shape. So then you can just get it on there. It'll make a nice thick layer. I could have mixed it a little bit more. I guess we'll do it on here. Smooth it out. But that's the right consistency. It's supposed to be smoothable. Can add a little bit more. So you could do quite a high relief if you wanted to, but you have to do it at the time when it's in this state. So you can use tools to scrape shapes in. I'm just mixing it a bit more. You can't really rush this process. Sort of like icing on a cake. At this stage, you can do sculptural things with it. You know, you can swirl, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff. And of course, you can leave edges if you want, if you say you want to have a border treatment. So they'll take it all the way out to the border if you don't want to. In this case, I'm going to do it. You can see it's got little speckles in there. It could have been mixed a bit longer. I just wanted to show you the consistency. But it might create a really interesting surface, so it's all good. Now you can't put a stencil in at this stage because you just, it picks the back, you know, the front of the stencil picks up the plaster and then it just makes a mess of the image. You'll have to wait. Then you can do that other layer on top of this. Then it'll really crackle. And if you're inclined to do something incredibly abstract, well, there you go. Just start working into it. And you have these nice relief surfaces and some undercuts. The undercuts will catch the light. You could keep this as a white piece because it will catch the light. You can add maybe a line or two. And then let it dry. So there you go, working with Crackle paste, the stuff you make yourself. Now back to our previous little work here. So Josh has taken a close-up of this so that you can see the crackles that are starting in the teacup. So we're just going to add a little bit of color. So we'll just use our magenta. Throw a little on there. Let's spray it a wee bit so it doesn't dry on us too quickly. Well, I was never very good at coloring, you know, within the lines. I was kind of a rebel at school, so I did sort of abstract expressionist stuff when I was in my art teacher at the time wasn't too thrilled with me. Because I loved colors, so it went on bold and bright. Well, it seems to be working okay, so we're not too bad shape here. Maybe a little darker on the inside and a little lighter on the outside. Anyway, you can see, you know, how well this plaster stuff, crackle stuff, and this one does have plaster in it, I'm sure, works. And we'll just leave the initial white. We'll use a little bit of green here. Add some white to it because it's quite dark. There we go. So it's quite agreeable to some changes in tone. You can't lift much back, but it works. Can add a little bit of into the leaves just to coordinate the colors. Maybe our oxide color for the cup. Okay, and then and if you don't put the paint on too thickly, then the crackles will show up, and that's the whole point. Square brushes are great because they have a chisel edge and they get edges better. Then you can just move things around. So just finishing off here with our painting of the coffee cup or teacup. I've changed brushes. This one is, I got a little bit more of a chisel edge. And that way we can get these little fine lines. And if you mix that green with the red, we're going to get almost a black. And that sort of ties the composition together. And a little bit of this too. Nice and dark. Give it that tea or coffee look. And then we'll just leave the little, what do you call that anyway?
Steam?
Steam? I guess it's steam. Sort of a dusty rose. Our highlights were all on this side, so I guess we can do that on here. A few light spots here and there. To show that that's a liquid. And I think we're pretty good here. So you can paint this stuff, you can do stenciling with it. Yeah, it's quite a versatile medium. And then on top of everything else, you have this lovely crackle effect. Now we're going to just pick up this one and see if this plaster will pick up the paint as well. We'll just stick with the same palette pretty well. Okay, so a little bit of white, a little bit of the magenta. We'll go from the outside in. Yes, you can see that the plaster picks up the paint really well. Now you might have to, if you're sanding it down, then of course you might have to do some touch-ups. And then the insides will be darker. seems like you can blend colors really well too, so it looks good. We're not painting the Sistine Chapel here exactly, but it's probably in a similar vein. So we'll do the leaves. We can add a little bit of the oxide, red iron oxide, that's what it's called, in parts of the leaves. Just underpainting it a bit. A little more difficult to paint this because of the raised surface. If it had it troweled it really, really smooth, the way the 13th century, fresco painters did, then of course it would be easier, but it is what it is. Okay, we have one last little flower to do, which will be quite dark because it's just opening up. Just put a little of the dark color underneath the petals in the shadowy areas here, just to make it look more dimensional. And that's pretty well it, I think. So, now isn't plastering and painting in plaster and all this crackle business major fun? I really enjoyed even the preliminaries of this. And I hope you'll try it too. And let me know your results. As usual, you can post to Shoreline Studio on my Facebook page. Instagram, Shoreline Studio 01. And let me know how you're doing. It's always good to hear from people and, see their results, and fun to keep up with everybody. So take care, and take care of your families and, of course, yourself. And be kind to everybody. Take care. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.